Okay, so we're going to continue looking at two occurrences of a variable, and we're going to specifically apply this to a word problem. I know it's everybody's favorite, the second we hear word problem. Remember, we can break this down. We're going to do a 3-read strategy. So first, we're going to read the problem. So a word problem gives context. It's a story. It makes sense of the numbers. Instead of just giving you an equation with numbers, we can give you a story of what happened. How did these numbers, come about? What do they mean? So first, we need to read the problem just to understand the story. Can we picture what is happening? So we're going to draw a picture. You do not always have to draw a picture, but if you can at least picture in your mind what is happening, it makes it a lot easier to understand what you need to do. So customers of a phone company can choose between 2 service plans for long-distance calls. The first plan has a $22 monthly fee and charges an additional 9 cents for each minute of calls. The second plan has a $17 monthly fee and charges an additional 13 cents for each minute of calls. For how many minutes of calls will the cost of the 2 plans be equal? So that is definitely a lot of information there in those couple of sentences. So first, let's just draw a simple picture. What's going on here? So with this one, we have customers, and we have plan number 1 and plan number 2. So these are supposed to be like little wiggly document looking things. So we have 2 plans. I can choose plan 1 or I can choose plan 2. So right now, that's my basic drawing. I'm a customer and I have 2 plans to choose from. So my second read, I'm going to read the problem again, but this time I want to focus on what am I being asked to find? What is the question? So again, customers of a phone company can choose between 2 service plans for long distance calls. So we already did that one down here. The first plan has a $22 monthly fee and charges 9 cents per minute of calls. The second plan has a $17 monthly fee and charges an additional 13 cents for each minute of calls. For how many minutes of calls will the costs of the 2 plans be equal? So I am being asked to find how many minutes I will have to make phone calls to make those 2 plans cost the same. So they initially cost different amounts. They also have different costs per minute. So we want to know, when will these 2 plans be equal? That is our question. And with this one, this is actually, shopping around for the best deal. This is actually a very real world problem because we are always presented with more than one option. Well, I shouldn't say always, most of the time. If you're going into the store, it doesn't have to just be, a phone company. If I go to the store and I'm looking for a product in the store, there's probably more than one of that type of product, and I have to decide which one is the better one. In this case, I have a little bit more to deal with than just price, because I have to look at the initial cost and the cost per minutes. So on the third read here, I'm scooching down on here, the third read we're going to determine the important information, and then we're going to make a plan. How do we figure this out? Remember, not all given information is always actually important. Sometimes it's just extra. They didn't give too much extra information on this plan, other than the fact that we don't really need to know that it's, long distance calls, things like that. There's things that we could get rid of that don't really matter for certain words, but most of what they're giving us here is important information. So what do we need to know to find this answer? So that filled it in a little too quickly. Well, I can answer this question first. So I need to know what the charge is per month for the line. How much am I going to have to pay no matter what? And I also need to know what is the cost per minute for each line, because that's an additional charge that I'm going to be having to pay for. So if we read this again, customers of a phone company can choose between 2 service plans for a long distance call. The first plan has a $22 monthly fee and charges 9 cents per minute of calls. So I have that information for the first plan. I know how much I'm going to pay no matter what, and I know how much I'm going to pay per minute. The second plan has a $17 monthly fee and charges an additional 13 cents for each minute of calls. So again, I have my information for my second plan too. So I can fill that in. It's $22.09 per minute, $17.13 per minute. So I have my information. I just need to figure out, when will these 2 plans equal each other? So if I move forward, my question would be here is, which one do you think you would choose right now without doing any more calculations, just thinking about it? Which plan do you think is the best plan? So in class, I'm hoping, we're going to go back and forth a little bit on this one and see, which one do you think is best, because this one starts higher, So this one starts lower. This one has less per minute. So this one has more per minute. So you just have to weigh the options. Which one do you think is best? All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at how to solve this. So down here you can see I've written a little expression, 22 plus 0.9 m. So m is for minutes. I replaced that with a variable. So this is plan number 1, $22 plus 9 cents per minute. And the second plan is going to be $17 plus 13 cents per minute. So we can see our equation down there. We want to know when are these two equal. So I'm going to scooch up so we can see. So we're going to combine the constants and the variables. So I'm going to move 17. So there's a positive 17 on the side, and I just chose to move 17 instead of 22. That was just a choice I made. I could have subtracted 17 to the right side as well. Either choice would have been correct. And then in the same swoop, and hopefully I'm not being confusing, I'm also going to move the 9 cents from the left side to the right side. So I'm kind of doing 2 steps all at the same time here, just to save a little space on the paper. So 22 minus 17, I get 5. The 9 cents minus 9 cents per minute cancels out. 17 minus 17 cancels out because they're a number minus themselves. And then 13 cents minus 9 cents gives me 4 cents per minute. So this brings me down. What I've done is I've eliminated the charge, basically. I'm just looking at what's left over, the difference of the charges, and per minute to see how many more minutes am I going to have to call on the lower plan to match the higher plan. So now I'm going to divide by 0.4 to undo the multiplication here. So 5 divided by 0.4 gives me 125. So that'll equal m. So plan 1 is better if you plan to talk more than 125 minutes per month, but plan 2 is better if you plan to talk less than 125 minutes per month. Because remember, plan 2 costs less. It was only $17. And if you're going to talk less than 125 minutes, then it won't go over this bill. It won't meet that $22, so it won't meet up to that point. Or it's going to be more than $22, so it won't meet the second plan. But if you plan to talk more than 125 minutes, you're starting a little higher on this one. But then once you get to that point of 125, you're going to start paying less per minute. It doesn't sound like a lot, it's pennies. But if you're on the phone a whole lot, then it might add up pretty darn quickly. This actually might be a little easier to apply to text because I don't know how often teenagers sit on the phone for a whole long time. But text messaging, this used to be a very big problem when I was a teenager because we had to pay per text. We also had to pay per minute. So we had to pay for our minutes too. But texting is still a very big thing. And just think about how many texts have you sent today? And if it was 9 cents per text, oof, that's going to add up. So I think when I was younger, it was 10 cents per text and then 25 cents for pictures. So if you were sending, memes to people, that was 25 cents each. So, and memes weren't a thing when I was a teenager. So, fun stuff that's changed. It's still a little the same, but this is a very interesting problem because it helps us weigh pros and cons of which phone line do we think would be a better one to save us money. So, all right, that was 2 occurrences of a variable in a word problem. I hope that helped, and I will see you on the next video.